and welcome to Return to Joy. I'm Evie White. Last time we spoke, I promised to tell you more about the Shadow Collective and my experiences with them. What is the shadow? In modern media, movies, televisions, etc., sometimes even stories, the shadow is this spooky, scary aspect or realm filled with demons and monsters and things that are out to get you. In the mental health world, the shadow is considered parts of ourselves that we fail to acknowledge or purposely hide, and modern mysticism seems to hold fairly true to that idea also. Either way, the shadow self is generally seen as something negative, something that we oppose, something that trips us up and needs to be fixed or overcome. Unfortunately, this sets people into a conflict with themselves. It makes people afraid to confront, and confronting your shadow is the last thing we should be doing. Yes, the shadow holds parts of ourselves that we want to keep hidden, or that we are socially trained to ignore, hide, or be ashamed of. And it's not always things that are bad. In modern Western culture, men are taught to be ashamed of their feelings. Showing care, showing concern, compassion is often negatively viewed by their peers. But these things are important human aspects that make us decent humans. Sometimes it's our talents that are shoved deep into the shadow. We were told we weren't good at it, even though we had a passion for it. Or that it's stupid because we should be focusing on other skills that will generate a better income or get you better acknowledgments from society. And yes, some of our emotions are stuffed in there, like our anger or jealousy. But they're bad, right? Right? Not really. See, emotions like anger are just tools. They're natural. Everybody has them, but not everybody is taught how to properly express them. And let's keep using anger as an example here. When we're younger and we express anger, we scream, we cry, we beat our fists against things and stomp our feet, scream, have a tantrum. Sometimes we actually lash out. If we're taught healthy methods of expressing our anger when we're younger, these types of behaviors are avoided. But most of us are not taught that. We're taught that anger is bad. Expressing anger results in negative reactions back at us. Discipline, more anger directed towards us from other people, making the situation worse. Being punished for expressing our anger makes us want to smother it, hide it, get rid of it. But let's look at it like a tool. What good things can you do with anger? Righteous anger can lead to change, growth, action, making a positive difference in the world. It's not the tool, it's how you use it. Sometimes our shadow also ends up with negative experiences, traumas, hurts, because we can't deal with it. So we stuff it down and stuff it down. The problem is, very few of us sit down and take the time to pull those experiences back to the surface and deal with them. Feel them, express them, heal them, and let them go. The problem comes when we jam all of these things into our shadow and ignore them. That which you ignore will fight harder to be acknowledged. And that is how we end up with negative overspill into our life. The harder you try to fight against your rage, the more it's going to surface for your attention, make a mess of your life. But if you sit down and acknowledge it as a tool and keep your anger in your tool belt while learning to express it in a positive, healthy manner, the problem ceases to exist. You have acknowledged it, and you've even found a purpose for it. The same with our past hurts. If we've jammed them away because we couldn't deal with them, we need to sit down and pull, even if it's just a little bit of healing. Just pull it out for a little bit to acknowledge it exists, to feel the feels. And if you can only do it a little bit at a time, that's perfectly acceptable. Put the rest away, come back to it later. But again, we aren't taught these things. We are taught that the things that go into the shadow are bad and need to stay hidden or buried. What have you got hidden in your closet? Ooh, the bad stuff. What have you got shoved into your shadow? Ooh, the skeletons and the demons. Well, sure, if you ignore them and leave them to fester. If you let other people define them for you. If you allow yourself to be judged, then things can go bad. So one of the most important things that we can do is understand what our shadow is, what its purpose is, and how to use it as a tool for self-betterment, for you to heal, for you to be whole. So now that we have a basic understanding of what the shadow is, we'll take it one step further. You have a shadow self. And again, unlike what you see in the movies, it is not this dark, evil version of you. Far from it. Your shadow self is your best and truest friend. Your shadow self is your ally because your shadow self has accepted the responsibility of taking the things that you have rejected or that have been judged poorly and you've been forced to put aside, or the events that you are unable to process. Your shadow self takes these things, protects them, cares for them, is responsible for that aspect of your well-being. And when they see that you are strong enough or capable, ready to learn or heal, your shadow self will say, hey, here's this thing that you gave me to hold. It's time for you to face it and deal with it. And if you do, your shadow self is there to help you through it. And if you come to the point where it's like, that's all I can do right now, your shadow self will say, cool beans, take it back and continue to caretake it for you. However, if you say, no, that's bad, that's evil, I can't deal with that, I'm not strong enough, if you push it away and push it away and push it away, it's going to start getting shoved back at you harder and with more insistence. And I have seen rejected things that the shadow has tried to hand to somebody end up ruining that person's marriage. Their life went right off the rails because they absolutely refused to sit down and take a look at what their shadow was handing them. And the harder they pushed it away, the harder it pushed back. So who is this shadow self? Is it just a mirror image of you? No. Is it a creepy, demonic duplicate of you? No. Although sometimes they will look like you, but that's purely so that you understand on your basic level that they are there to help you, that they have your stuff, and they are your personal helper, ally, friend. But they don't always look like that, and you can ask them not to. Oh, I'm talking about them in plural. I'm talking about them like they're sentient. Guess what, guys? Yeah. So this is where we come to the part where I talk about my personal experience with the shadow realm and the shadow collective. Some of you may be familiar with the idea that we are all one. We are from the same source in individual bodies, gaining experience to eventually one day evolve and return all back to the one source, become one again. In some form or fashion, a lot of people are becoming more familiar with this idea. Here's the dealio. Yes, that is accurate. The shadow collective is exactly that. It is a group of individuals that have evolved to a certain point where they have become a collective. Not the creepy kind from sci-fi shows, but a collective nonetheless. They have chosen to help us evolve, grow, learn, heal, evolve. That's pretty cool in my opinion. I mean, stop to think about it. If you were part of a collective that had evolved and healed and grown to that point and become one, wouldn't you want to help others grow, heal, and learn? The Shadow Collective decided to do exactly that. So when I say they're your best friend and your ally, I'm not joking about that. I've racked my brains on how to explain my experience. It's always been my mission to grow and evolve, to heal, and to lift myself up, and to lift others up with me. Those who can, those who will listen, those who will take the information that I have and use it. I know you're out there. So I have spent most of my life dedicated to doing exactly that. Healing, learning, growing, and sharing the information that I have. While I was expanding my abilities with visualization and meditation, that I also started to be able to change my frequency, as in changing which realm I could communicate with. And I met other vibrational entities. I have started working with them. I started healing. I started learning from them. I started training with them. And during that time, I started working more intimately with my shadow self. And since I was in a learning phase and a healing phase, that became a very important relationship because nobody knew me better than my shadow self. They had all the things that I was told were bad, all the things about myself I didn't like, all those horrible, horrible experiences that I carried, that I tried to forget, or that I tried to quote unquote overcome and be stronger than. But I'm also a bit of a loudmouth, kind of pushy and really blunt, which some people love about me, but also really ticks people off. And that's one of the things I had to take back from my shadow. To be truthful to myself and to speak truthfully and to speak plainly. And so I developed this relationship with my shadow self to the point where they didn't need to look like me for me to interact with them. I didn't wait around for things to be handed back to me. I'd started saying, "Hey, shadow self, remember this incident? I'm ready to deal with that. Can I have that back?" And I could feel them with me, and they would stay with me while I went through the process of experiencing those events again and allowing myself to feel the hurt, the pain, the anger, allowing myself to express them fully so that I could let them go. I was also escorted to the shadow realm as a guest. And I'm going to take a moment here to explain that when I do this kind of traveling, what I see may not be 100% because it's still being filtered through my physical brain. And I am very steeped in symbolism because learning symbolism and doing dream interpretation was one of my very first steps on this path. So sometimes it has a dreamlike quality. Sometimes it actually happens when I'm supposed to be asleep and I have a dream that's not a dream. But with this specifically, I was awake and I had shifted my frequency to visit. I had no idea there was a shadow realm at this point. So being invited as a guest felt to me like a very big honor. Because how many people do you know has a shadow say, "Hey, why don't you come meet the rest of me?" But that's what happened. But what I saw was sort of literal for a shadow realm. It was a very large space. And far, far, far to one side, everything was black. Dark. Ooh, nothing. Void. And far, far, far to the other side was bright, light, whitish, glowing. And in the space where the shadow realm resided was where that darkness and that lightness started bleeding together to create, you guessed it, a shadowy space, a grayness. And the way the shadow collective presented itself to me was a grayish, darkish, cloudy, misty kind of thing that had figures in it. Not ghosty, scary stuff. I'm not doing a good job of explaining it. It sounds like ghosty, scary stuff. Maybe it's because I'm not scared of ghosties. Okay, but they're not scary, they're friendly. They're just beings who want to do good works to help us. So that really helped with the vibe. Right? There was a little curiosity and a whole lot of friendliness and a hello and very politeness. And if you look into the cloudy, you can see certain individuals kind of stepping forward. You can see their faces and their smiles. And this one will step forward to talk. And it's all this kind of cloudy movement that was very comforting to be in. It wasn't too dark. It wasn't too bright. It wasn't spooky. It was filled with peace and happiness and joy. And my shadow self showed me, and again, remember, these are my visualizations, might not be what others see, but what I was shown, what I saw, was a giant screen. It was almost like, it was almost very sci-fi type thing. So it was this big screen, and there was a console, and on that screen was all the things that I gave to my shadow to hold. And they were little icons on the screen. So I could see, oh yeah, I remember that incident. Or, oh wow, I didn't know that I had stuffed that away. Yeah, I guess that makes sense because I don't really like that about myself. And I want to keep that hidden. I don't want other people to judge me by that. Wow, these things were here. And I was allowed to pick the icon, pick the item that I wanted to deal with. And I said, I have a choice? Yes, of course. You chose to put them here. Some of them were forced here by the people or conditions of your life, but they are yours and you're allowed to take them. It's like, wow. Wow, guys. We have control over this. And I said, what if I don't want to take it? Well, you will eventually have to, or it will continue to be a problem for you. And that was the thing, is those things that we take back, process, and accept as part of ourselves are no longer a problem. Well, so what if somebody doesn't like that about me? That's their problem, not mine. I also asked, what if something comes up that I don't want to deal with or I can't deal with right now? And I was told, not a problem. Tell me and I will take it. I will hold on to it for you until you are ready. Really? So I can be in a situation and maybe someone's pushing my buttons and I'm getting angry, but I don't want to react angry. Or they're really pushing my buttons to hurt me, trying to manipulate me, maybe cause me to cry, right? Then I get embarrassed, then I don't want to deal with them, and blah, blah, blah. The other person, quote unquote, wins. Give it to your shadow. Hey, this horrible thing just happened. I have to drive home. I can't be carrying these hurts, these traumas, and these thoughts. Shadow, please hold this for me. No problem. Now here's the thing though. What you give to Shadow, you must keep your word and take it back and deal with it when you are ready. So if that means you go home, you're safe, you have a hot drink, you're in private, and you can say, Shadow, I'm ready now. I'll take that. Shadow doesn't dump it on your lap and run. Shadow is the friend that says, okay, I'm here, and will gently place it in your hand. Let's try this piece first. What can you deal with this? Can you deal with this? How about this? How much can you take right now? And if you can process it all, fantastic. If you can't, Shadow will take some away from you, and we'll deal with this later. When I say Shadow is your best friend and an ally, this is what I mean. Shadow will never desert you. Shadow will not dump and run. Shadow will be persistent in drawing your attention to what needs to heal and will respect your boundaries. Sometimes I'll say, Shadow, my week is full. I will make time this weekend to sit down and deal with this. Boom, it's gone. I'm not worrying about it. It's not eating at me. I know it's in holding somewhere. And I keep my word. I sit down on the weekend. Kids are off playing. I'm in my room, quiet. Okay, Shadow, I'm ready. I asked if I could share this with others, and I almost really don't want to because it was so profound, and it made such a huge difference in my healing, in the way that I get through my days, in how I process things, in how I time my healing, how I've taken more responsibility for me and the things that happen to me, and how I respond to them. It changed me and my life, and I don't feel so alone. And it was kind of nice when they were my little secret, but that's not why I chose to walk this path. Everybody needs to know you're not alone. You don't need to keep that stuff hidden, and you don't need to let it keep hurting you. These things that keep coming up for your attention and keep hurting you, that doesn't have to happen anymore. You're not alone. And you don't have to deal with it alone. And you have somebody who chose specifically you as their healing buddy. They have dedicated themselves to helping us heal, grow, and evolve. What kind of jerk would I be if I sat on that? Sorry, humanity, you're on your own. No, you're not. No, you're not. There are other beings out there who have evolved. They're on their own frequencies, and sometimes we can hear them, and sometimes we can even see them. And I don't care what you want to call them, but a lot of them have dedicated themselves to helping others better themselves, heal, and grow. And those are the ones that I work with. And that includes the Shadow Collective. I have such love in my heart for them and because of them. I have stopped feeling helpless because I now have more control. I have a better understanding. And I'm not alone. And there is no have to. There's only when I'm ready to. And so with their permission and their encouragement, I am recording this podcast for those who don't understand, who have never experienced it, who are unfamiliar, or who are simply too afraid. And it's okay to be afraid. Name it, feel it, let it go. Now, with that, I'm going to offer you the opportunity to reclaim one thing from your shadow that you would like to process. It doesn't have to be something big. It doesn't have to be something earth-shaking. You don't even have to know what it is. You don't have to make that decision. I'll walk you through it. That's what I do. I will record a walkthrough for you so that when you have a moment to yourself in a safe space, you can listen to it. You can listen to it as many times as you need to, or you can listen to it once and then continue doing the process on your own, in your own way. I'll leave a link for you, but that's my time for today. If you have any questions or requests for a topic, let me know. Please consider liking and subscribing through whatever medium you're listening to me on, and thank you so much for joining me today. Have a beautiful day, and please remember to make time to do the shadow workshop with me.